The Nikon Z30, they market this thing as a video camera. However, it has some limitations. They do also have little asterisks in their specifications, and I've run into that hardcore with my video rig setup. I was previously using the Canon EOS M6 Mark II cameras. I had two of those. Those cameras do overheat when they have a memory card, battery, internal recording of video at 4K. In those cameras, they overheat. That's fine. I mean, it's kind of expected for a smaller camera, but obviously not ideal. In this case, this camera overheats in that situation at 4K, but it also overheats with HDMI-out with a DC coupler and AC adapter power, so there's no heat being generated by the battery, as well as no memory card, no internal recording. That's a huge limitation for me with a lot of the types of videos that I do. I have this little setup where I do hands-on product reviews, stuff like that. I was trying to shift sideways to all Nikon stuff, but it's not going to work. This camera has issues outputting HDMI for long periods of time. I mean, long periods is subjective. It's cool that you could set this up to press this and then it records on the Ninja V. That's kind of cool, but I mean, if it doesn't do it for long enough, then it's not cool. Sure, I could use this camera in 1080p, maybe it'll be fine, but I'd prefer to do it 4K. In that case, I can only get maybe one of them done. And then I had some quirks today as I was recording a video on green tea. In that case, I had two different teas that I wanted to make videos on. So the first one was 14 minutes. It cut out while it was steeping the tea. And then I did a second recording that was around 1 minute and 25 seconds. And then I did a recording of 20 minutes and the camera overheated. So with those two recordings, around 35 minutes of recording, and there were pauses between some situations where the camera was actually turned off. It did overheat again towards the end of the second video clip. I'm not going to trust it in those situations because I would prefer to use 4K so I can crop in to videos as I'm editing them if I want to get closer up. I also noticed a weird quirk where the camera cut off on the first video. I don't recall pressing the button. I don't know what happened. It was potentially the Atomos Ninja V. This is just pure speculation at this point. That's a problem as well. I frankly don't care if this is a Z50 with the viewfinder cut off or whatever they did internally to make this camera, but they market it as a video camera. They market it with 4K. Again, they do have a little asterisk saying it might overheat, and it does. It certainly does, but I wasn't even concerned about internal recordings, having the battery in the camera, this and that. HDMI should be a less strenuous type of output for the camera. It should just run. It doesn't. And in my opinion, I think it's potentially a firmware issue. This area is what gets the hottest, but it's certainly not anything that feels hot enough to shut off the camera or cause a problem. I think maybe Nikon can potentially release a firmware update to allow for longer HDMI recordings. They're probably not going to. So if you want to do something like live streaming, you can probably do it in 1080p. I haven't tested that yet, but in streaming situations, you could be running for 3, 4, 5, 12 hours, whatever. In those situations, it needs to work. With the Canon EOS M6 Mark II, again, outputting HDMI, never had an issue. Now it's kind of not as high resolution at 4K as this camera because I think they were doing some pixel binning with the M6 Mark II, but that's fine with me if it's going to work for a long period of time. I don't need perfect quality. In that case, maybe Nikon could release an additional 4K video format so that it will run for a long time doing streaming and stuff like that. And make these videos so that people interested in purchasing a camera for what they want to do understand its limitations, functionality, what might not work for them if they do streaming or if they do longer HDMI output situations. This is not a good option, which is sad because they do have decent autofocus. They have like a nice construction of the camera. It has good features. It has a mix of photo and video, so you switch independently. You have independent custom modes for photo and video. That's very nice. It's functional. The camera itself is actually a little bit larger than the M6 Mark II, which is strange. Again, that camera works just fine in those situations. This one does not. If you have similar issues with other cameras or this one, let me know in the comments so we kind of get a collection of useful information for people interested in finding a tool to do what they need. I don't care what Nikon did to make this thing, but if they call it a video camera, it needs to work long term as a video camera in as many situations as possible doing that type of work. Anyways, hope you enjoyed this video. Scott for Banzai. Thanks.